Hi Brenda, how are you?
Hi, Julie. I'm great, thank you. And you?
I am good. I am very well. And Brenda is
Okay.
joining us from Nairobi. For our viewers, Brenda, you want to um, introduce yourself?
Okay, thank you, Julie. Hi, everyone. I'm Brenda Formin. I'm a Cameroonian based in Nairobi, Kenya. I study at the United States International University and major in international relations. And I'm the CEO of a social enterprise, which is geared towards recycling plastic bottle waste into eco-friendly products, solving the problem of littering of plastic waste and also contributing to climate change.
So, Brenda, you want to tell us how did you get where you are today, and what or who helped you in your journey?
Okay. So first things first, what I would say is, to me, success, the first thing was defining what success was. And success basically to me is investing, impacting the world with the investment of your personality, looking out for a need and setting out to meet that need. As a young girl growing up, I came to realize gender discrimination back then in my country, Cameroon, challenges girls faced right up to the level of, schooling, sexual harassment from teachers, and nothing was really done about it. And this was one of the reasons why I decided to fully engage in giving back to society, speaking up for girls as well, and at the same time ensuring that there is a meaningful engagement of youth voices. And it's just been from one level to the other, because when I started off as one person, coming up with projects, liaising with the Ministry of Secondary Education, running education programs in schools, to the level of winning international awards, to the level of being an ambassador to or country representative to key organizations. And basically it was just taking advantage of opportunities that were placed before me. Like the quote by Zig Ziglar, he says, "I don't have an alarm clock, I have an opportunity clock." So it was basically, just taking advantage of those opportunities, being resilient, and just pressing on with my embarks towards leaving the world a better place.
So, Brenda, tell us when you started working with this girls group as an advocate for women rights. What were your challenges?
Well, there have been so many challenges, a lot of challenges, and one of the challenges that I would say I've faced um, is my gender, being a woman. Being a woman, being a young girl, trying to fight for the rights of other young women has been very challenging at the same time. Breaking through protocols of the government to be able to push through with certain projects wasn't a day's job. I remember my experience back in 2018 when I had this, project to run in the northern part of Cameroon, actually for a whole month. I was there, like, breaking through government protocols was not a day's job. And because of the culture and tradition of the people as well, I was reaching over 12 rural communities, and these communities had cultures where aspects of gender and sexual violence was a norm. It was a culture. It was a tradition. There was nothing wrong about it. How do I break through these barriers? So there were just those boundaries that I had to break through, because I was even assured that some of these communities, reaching them, I was not going to come back alive. There was just this death assurance. But at the same time, the biggest question was, what was I out for? What did I want to achieve? How many girls, how many young girls are looking up to this embark? How many girls will be saved as a result of what I was about to do? And that was what kept me going, regardless of the hindrances, regardless of the barriers.
So I really have to applaud you for your bravery. At the same
Thank you.
time, tell me that the work you have done in remote parts of Cameroon, where traditionally the girls were, looked at in a completely different manner. What are the changes you have been able to effect, and what do you see which has brought about the change or started a new movement?
So basically, when I talk about my work, I was able to take this, like to the prisons, education to the prison, and took it to the knowledge of the divisional delegation for secondary education, and they took it on. They came up with teachers, and I had this library that was being installed in the prison, and inmates now go to the school. Inmates write the public exam regardless of the fact that they are in prison, because when we take my country for example, my country has an HIV and AIDS national policy that excludes adolescent girls and young women at the implementation stage. How do we change this narrative? We need to be able to empower the girls. We need to be able to have sittings with policymakers to talk about this, and medical health experts as well. So my work was bridging this gap. How do grassroots organizations assess funding to be able to advocate for aspects like this? So being a part of, most of these donor organizations, grassroots organizations back in Cameroon were able to assess funding. They've been able to push through with their advocacy. And my effective involvement with these organizations granted me the opportunity, to be a voice for many unheard voices, of young African girls and women, speaking at global congresses like the pre-universal health coverage of the United Nations 72nd General Assembly in New York, talking about the importance of investing towards the sexual reproductive health rights of adolescent girls and young women, speaking at the global financing health event at the Women Deliver in Vancouver 2019 as well. I can say that the impact has been far-reaching.
I'm sure that you have inspired a lot of girls in your region, and I really, really appreciate you for what you're doing. So tell us, is there somebody who impacted your decisions, or is there a mentor in your life who's played a large role of what you are today?
Yes, of course. I would say the first thing I would say is I've been inspired by so many people, but I would want to first of all start by talking about my mom Ingwamiri Ann. She has been a very great impact in my own life as an individual, because growing up as a little girl, she taught me the importance of being selfless, the importance of knowing that in life you cannot, you can't just throw away things because your excesses could be another person's wish. And she started taking me along for, most of her humanitarian embarks, reaching out to orphans and all of that. And that really formed a very great foundation in my life, and the decision to be able to stand in for others. One of the greatest inspirations in my life that caused me to be able to take this stand is my pastor. He's more like a mentor to me, Reverend Dr. Chris Oyakilome. I remember listening to one of the messages he preached, and this was one of the reasons why I decided to take action. That was when I was 17 and I got to the university. He said something very striking in one of his messages. He said, when we see little children in the streets, we walk past these children, That was one message that made me cry and made me make up my mind to be a tool of change in the world. What we can do today is to change the narrative of these children and help them, because every child is your child. I felt like that message left a mark in my life, and I cried a lot, and I made up my mind that I was going to be a reference. I was going to be a reference for my generation. I was going to stand up for the less privileged and the marginalized. And that was how I started. God, the right mentors and leaders, my parents, my pastors, and the right friends who have been support systems in the process. So yeah.
That is fantastic to hear. It is so surprising when I'm talking to you, I realize that, some of the work you've done with the jail inmates, I've also done that. I have been working almost for 5 years with the jail inmates and, teach them the life skills which they require to get out and live the life of crime. Also, at the same time, I work with underprivileged children, and I have been, since the pandemic started, I have been telling everybody that, I'm more scared about people getting killed by hunger rather than getting killed by the pandemic.
Exactly.
So, I mean, it's great to hear your story from your part of the world. So, do you have any advice to the young girls who are pursuing their careers or entrepreneurs?
Okay. Thank you for that. So as I talk about my words to girls or young entrepreneurs, one thing I would tell them is believe in yourself. I want to use myself as an example. The idea I had was an idea that the world was waiting on. African governments are still navigating their way through having a solution to plastic bottle waste. How is this problem going to be solved? And as I believed more in myself, I came up with a business plan. I was able to have notion of a business speech contest that was going on, hosted by a German firm for sub-Saharan Africa, and I went for it. And for the 200 applications that came in, they selected the top 66 most promising ideas, and my idea was one of the ideas that was selected. I mean, this was an idea. This was just an idea. It was not a company at that time. It was just an idea, and it was being selected. And that was how I got qualified for the grant. I got my company registered, and it's now, like running and all of that. One thing I would tell young women, young entrepreneurs out there is believe in yourself, because nobody will believe in you. Own your strengths and own your story, because no one else will. And one thing you have to note is your dreams are valid. Don't let the world, don't let friends, don't let people around you, don't even let your present circumstances define that dream that is impossible, because it is possible.
Brenda, after your international relations degree, what's next for you?
Wow, that's a very, very big question. So after my international relations degree, well, I'm looking at working with the donor organizations that I'm a country rep with. I have a few options that I'm looking at, but at the same time, I'm looking at really getting my company very grounded, because I have a plan of actually staying back in Kenya. And at some point in time, I'm also looking at forwarding my academic pursuit in the field of international relations, because one of my biggest dreams, like I have told so many people, is getting to be the first female president someday in my country. So
thank you for being here, Brenda, and I hope you keep inspiring girls in the future as well. And thank you.
Thank you, Julie.